Okay, let's get underway. Cue. Hmm. So in a moment, we will have a description and also a story to tell you. Then we will have the healing list of names. And after that, if you would like to ask any question, if you have a question ready, please let the host or co-host know that you have the question, and she will appoint you. And you can either ask it yourself or she will ask the question for you. So over the last series of talks, we have been talking about a fictional person that has gone through evolution by dealing with various issues that they have surrounding their mind. We started with the depth of despair and shame and how they evolved through these lower vibrational issues into the more higher vibrational ones, and how the evolution happened for them. There is a lot more to do in their progress. But this story or this style of evolution you may see in many different scriptures and books. They may use other words. In essence, it is the journey of one through the depth of the physical life, through the mental realm, the emotional realm, into the spiritual understanding. You'll see it in scriptures which have become quite holy, and people will follow those according to pathways by their chosen deity. You may also find it in those that talk about psychological journeys, and others may understand a vibrational journey. Again, other words would be used. But I want to tell you a story. As often, people come to talk about different situations in their life. And often people experience great hardship or tragedies. And they fail to understand the reason for that tragedy. It makes no sense to them. And try as they might, they cannot understand why a particular event has happened in their life. The event they are trying to resolve, they are trying to resolve with their mind. And this will only get them a certain way into the understanding of this tragedy that they have. But they are better off trying to understand the circumstances from a far deeper level. You see, in essence, there are two laws in effect with people experiencing parts of their life. It is the individual law and the universal law. The individual law refers to the individual person, and the universal to the universal aspect of the creation. So the individual, when suffering some tragedy, they do not know why it occurs and experience some degree of suffering. But if they were to understand that the suffering that they have experienced is regarding issues of their life and their previous lives and the resulting karma, then they would understand that the suffering is a result of actions unknown to the individual in the current life. And there is a story which explains this a little. and I have told this story before. There was a great judge who was very learned and very capable at his art. And this man was a very busy man, always busy with aspects of the law. And his mother, though, was very religious and devoted to Lord Shiva. And she would always say to her son, "Come to the temple with me and pay your respects to Lord Shiva." But the judge was always too busy and felt himself too important and said, "That is for the mere mortals and not for me," and refused to go to the temple. But one day the mother encouraged him to go because it was a Sunday and he had no work planned for that day. And as he was a good son, he went with his mother to the temple. And just before the temple, the car that they were traveling in experienced an accident. And the judge was hurt. And he blamed his mother for this and said, "If you had not encouraged me to come to this temple, then this would never have happened." But that evening, in a dream, Lord Shiva appeared to him and said, "You foolish man, can you not see that the accident that happened to you was minimalized because you were coming to visit the temple of Lord Shiva? And because of the devotion of your mother, you had a far more mild accident compared to what you would have had. The intention was for you to break many bones and have many months in hospital. But because of your mother and your true intention, then this incident was diluted." And on waking, the judge realized his fallacy and approached his mother and vowed to attend the temple with her. You see, this is an explanation of some positive karma. Negative karma has a far more traumatic effect in the eyes of the individual. But you do not know what is the reason for your circumstance that you face. And your mind will never understand or give you a true explanation. Only by coming into the subconscious mind, the causal world, the world of soul, when you look around and find your karma there, will you understand it. But the second law is the universal law. And here you may have, let us say, 50 people upon a boat that sinks. And you could not say that they all had the same karma. It's possible that just one, or maybe none at all, had a karma which meant this accident was to happen. And of course, there are then wars which occur, great disasters where many hundreds or even thousands of people pass. And this is not to do with individual karma, but universal karma. The karma which may exist with certain organizations or certain countries or certain communities may occur. disasters may happen which have an effect on a surrounding community, whether they are directly affected or not. And this is a karma, then, which exists in society, but not specifically related to the individual. And as long as one has a birth and a death and a corresponding rebirth, there is karma to be played out. Of course, it may be played within the existing life, or it may continue from this into next. And each individual will have to face the karma that they generate, however it looks. It is possible your individual karma can be diluted by certain activity. But there is only one way out of karma. And that is to stand back from the play. Have no achievement or failure. Gain no pleasure and no pain by not attaching to the actions of the play. So as the actor walks off the stage and leaves his garment behind, he becomes his true self. And you will do that too. But you should do it during your play and know that you are just playing a part for a period of time. You are not bound by this play, but it feels like you are. If you believe you are the physical forms, then you must endure the physical world. And life will happen to you, and yet you try to control life and it happen in just the way you want it to happen. But only stepping back from this life, having true intent flowing through you, will you then be able to step away from karma. All action delivers karma. And at times it can be very difficult to define exactly what your karma is or will be. So I encourage you to follow a process. To understand the garment you are wearing is necessary for your play. It is not you. The actions that you watch and see being lived are also not you. Come to your understanding by noticing your ability to watch. And as you can watch the play, you'll begin a process of standing back from it and realizing that you are something more than the physical life. If you have incidents which still disturb you at this stage, there is still some attachment to something in the physical life, and karma may be having its effect. So when you are confronted by that angry person, by that difficult tragedy, by the disturbances of the world. What you are seeing is a result of karma, which is driving the world, is keeping the world turning, and will provide highs and lows according to its natural law of existence. How you interact with that world is for you alone. Do you allow love to flow through you in your watching? Or does anger present itself to you? If there is a call to action, is there then an attachment to the world? You should watch. The world is full of movement. The non-physical world is full of stillness. So which side do you sit upon? The need to act or the need to love? And this will help you to determine whether you are following the egoic world or pleasant, sitting in the non-physical world. So have stillness in your heart, and you'll have stillness more prevalently in your physical world. So where you view the world from, what position, is incredibly important to your spiritual progress. It gives very different results. So be aware of where you are. So there's a little test or exercise you could try for yourself. So when you are a passenger, perhaps in a car or a bus or a train, watch the world pass by. And look deeply into yourself and ask the question, am I moving? Or is the world moving in front of me? And this will help determine where you are sitting. If you are caught in the world, you are moving with the surrounding. But if you are separating from the play, it is like just pages of a book flicking in front of you, and you are still. And you could travel from one town to another, one city to another, one country to another. And in effect, what is happening is the other country is coming to you. You are not going to it. Be a passenger and see if you can get an understanding of this. Obviously, not while you are the driver. Be still and watch. And then you'll see that the tragedies in life are like the passing scenery through your window. They will also pass by. And the successes which the ego claims and chases will also be like the page changing in front of your eye and have no effect upon. And then you will have stood back from karma and the play you are experiencing. So let us pause there for healing and then question. May I have the healing list of names, please?
Yes, thank you, Ignatius. Graham, Beck, Charlotte, Darren, Evie and Olivia, Matt and Laura and Molly, Max and Mike, Wendy, Beck, Roz, Howard and Chris, Kathleen and Anne, Carrie Ann, Jeanette, Marissa, Hannah, Matt and Peta, Chantel, Lucy and Michael Caputo, Tan, Cynthia, Adriana, Linda, Stephanie, Claudio, JD, Rosa, Tim, Helen, Larry and Nancy, Kevin and Susie, Jesse, Jana and Kripa, Deborah, Helen Lunk, Daniel, Jerry, Susanna, Virginia, Jagger, Carol, and Amrita, Ross, Karen, Rob, Brett, Aiden, Alex, Amanda Kay, Jill, Britt, Mason, Stephen, Matthew, Eric, Marianne, Jody, Louise, John, Andy, Don, Danielle, and Mirabai, Keiko, Dave and Django, Mitsuki Kai, Lorna, Vera and Beth, Glenn, Claire, and Carol, and may all be happy.
Right. So, Kripa, do we have a first question, please?
Yes, our first question comes from Amanda K.
Hi, Ignatius.
Good evening to you.
Good evening to you. I wanted to ask a question about if you can give me insight into whether specifically yesterday I was driven by ego or heart. I reached out to many people asking them to hold space for peace in Washington yesterday. I felt like I was clear before making that ask, and I felt like it came from a place of love. And now I'm not sure if it was egoic, and as it's something that maybe I am too attached to. I don't, since we're in these classes and this is part of being on the path, I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. So I thought I would just ask if you can tell.
Right. When one is confronted by a situation, and the situation in front of you can be quite traumatic potentially, then one must ground themselves first in the understanding that this is not what one sees. You see, in front of you may be pain and suffering of various degrees. And yet that is on the screen of your mind. And the sense of your true self is far deeper within your being. So if you can then connect to love, to your heart, one can then still feel the love within one's being. But the way you then view what is occurring may change slightly. If there is a call to action without the connection to heart, then this will be of the egoic world. When one is first grounded in the heart and truly grounded here, one may bring love into the action that one performs. But if your motive is purely love, and if one wants to change the world, one has to become the very love that one is trying to connect to. And now the love is the reward unto itself. So if you can imagine, then, experiencing love beyond measure that is so immense for you, it becomes so full that one then is feeling like no action is actually required at all. So the depth of your understanding then is to determine the depth of love that is connected with you. In other words, how true to your real self you are. So if you are in the physical world, then the tragedy or the dramatic situation is very much a dramatic or tragic situation. All belongs into the physical world. If you step back slightly into the level of observer and allowing love to flow through you, then love will come into the physical world, but with action. One loves and does something. When you're sitting in the depth of spirit, beyond soul level, then the love is complete and no action is required at all. So in essence, one is getting far more still. So again, where you view this situation from will determine your result. Caught in the tragedy, allowing love to guide my action, or sitting in the completion of love where no action is required. So in the physical world, there is karma to be balanced, either at an individual or a far bigger level. In the soul, it is to be experienced and watched. And it is of no consequence at all to the spirit. So in essence, the work one is doing is taking one from the caught in the tragedy to allowing the flow of love, to becoming the love, is the work one is doing in the spiritual life. In the physical life, it is at best just a flow of love into action. That one is still attached to the result then, or at least potentially. So if you truly want to change the world, fire and fire will not work. So fire and peace has some opportunity to work. Or just pure peace means one is not disturbed at all. So from the physical perspective, this answer is insufficient. Because one feels compelled to do something about the situation. And my words of sitting love does not satisfy the physical life. No matter how true it may be, it will not satisfy that cause to fight for peace, if you would like. So your action is determined by the degree of both attachment and the degree of needing to do. If you do anything, then you run the risk of karma. In fact, you will guarantee some karma. If you do something, but with love in your heart, there is a possibility that you can minimize the effect of whatever karma is going to befall you from the event that is to occur now or as a result. So if love is within your heart, are you attached to the play or not? Are you caught there in the play of events? Or are you standing back from it, either observing it or just being in the beauty of love? This also affects the degree of agitation one feels. Agitation over the tragedy or the circumstance, the desire to do something, but the right thing. Or not being attached to it at all. You see, every person that is in that tragedy is just as much a spirit as any observer. For some reason, they have been brought into the play to play either the hero or the villain. If you're in the play, you see heroes and villains. But the further you step back, you see that it is just karma. And step back further, it is a flow of love in what may appear first very strange ways. No one in the physical world will know which way this tragedy will work out. Do not know whether it'll be a positive or a negative. To either an individual or another individual or something greater than that. If you do not know, how can you play the game? So then the secret is to see the game truly. And once you know the rules of the game and the destination or the goal, then one can play the game with a far better viewpoint. So you could also look at the event and picture it at its worst, whatever that may be. Look inside. How disturbed are you? And then change and look at the event working completely the opposite way. Look inside. How joyous are you or not? And if you feel either elation or depletion, then that will determine where you are in your play. I would suggest in tragedy, in most tragedies at most times, the greatest need is either peace or love. And most likely both. And with peace, great changes can be made. Because one sits and knows that truth. So this is not peace in the physical sense, but peace in the non-physical sense. Great changes can be made when one is truly in the right position. And it takes a single person to stand up and say, this is, for the sake of peace, this is not right. But peace is the most important thing. So the answer to your question then, the true answer is, how caught are you in the play? What chair do you sit upon? In the play, watching the play, beyond all of that. So our work, each meditation, is you move the chair back a millimeter or so. Every meditation, the chair just moves back a little away from the play. And before you know it, you are not caught in the play at all. So one thinks that the spiritual journey is made up of big steps, great enlightenment, great understanding, a befalling of a certain download of information, or a lightning bolt that strikes one. But the true spiritual journey is moving the chair back 1 millimeter at a time. And as one does, one then turns their attention from outwards to inwards. And when sitting truly in that inward journey and location, one continues to move the chair back from the feeling there is love to the understanding I am love. So when the play becomes so tumultuous, it's very tempting to move the chair forward. And the magnetism of the play compels one forward. But the magnetism of spirit is calling one backwards or inwards. So one sits then like a seesaw halfway across the bridge. Is the physical world real, or is the spiritual world real? And when one sits here, then the seesaw can drop down on one side or the other, depending upon the circumstance. So like a big tug of war, or two elastic bands pulling one in either direction. One way will give agitation and pain. The other way will not. So one way will also determine another reincarnation. But the opposite way means one has stepped back from this play, not knowing what is to happen, why it's happening, and what will be the result, whether it's positive or negative, one doesn't know. There are only three things one can be certain of in life. The fact you are here, wherever here is. The fact that you can watch. And the ability to love. everything else is transient. Will come, will go. You'll never lose presence, consciousness, or the ability to love. Not when you are in the physical world, lost in the mind or deep sleep, or whatever is beyond that. It is far greater journey to honor what is true, those three things. Compared to chasing what one does not know and is like a leaf on the breeze. I trust that helps.
Thank you.
Is there another question, Krupa?
Yes. The second question comes from Jaina.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. My question's about something you said last week that I just kind of felt confused about. You said you must be willing to surrender the settlement in the peace for the expression of love. And I guess my question is about, like, if I come out of the peace, can I truly express love then? Or is it going to just be like an action of my ego at that point? And or maybe I'm just sort of confused about like what you meant by that, if you could explain.
Yeah. Well, the essence of the question is whether it is a duality or singularity. So the duality, is there an individual, and is the individual connecting to, owning, or transmitting, for example, love? In which case there is two, individual and love, or individual and peace. If one is experiencing there is an I, an individual I, then one needs to surrender a little more. As in, one will never achieve the true depth of love while there is an individual desiring of or separate to the love. So one must surrender ever greater amounts. So you surrender by stop seeing love and in time becoming. To begin with, this may seem like one must look deeper into the love. And that can be the start of the journey, but after a time, one must not see it as separate to oneself. And then can fall into the beauty of the expression of being, true love. And true love then will flow wherever it must flow. So again, the short answer to your question, is there duality or singularity? If there's duality, there needs to be singularity. And that will determine your result and your path. Now, I trust you understand my words. They're a little deeper than the average answer. Do you understand, Jaina?
Yes, I think so. That gives me a much better understanding, I think, of what you meant. Thank you.
Yeah. I perhaps wouldn't have used those words to explain to other people similar situations, but the depth of your understanding regarding this topic, I can answer that way. Is there another question, Kripa? I feel my
Yes.
time is close to done, but please advise me.
It is 4 minutes until the half past mark. Would you like to
Let's take
answer?
another question.
Okay. The next question is from Deborah, and she asked me to ask you, to ask Iggy whether mere randomness can explain certain life experiences, or is it that everything that occurs in one's life is for learning and or because of karma?
If one believes they are the physical body, then everything is random. If one believes they are the soul, then everything is going to happen what is meant to happen, and karma will have its effect. And therefore, things can occur a little randomly, but major things will take place exactly as they are meant to take place. Because everything then would be a flow of love, then there is no random at all. So again, it determines where one sits, in the physical, in the soul level, or in spirit level. So life does not happen to you, but from you. In the physical world, it looks like it happens to you. And you must endure the storm of life. At the deeper level, then one's beginning to separate from the play, and one starts to see, well, I can manipulate the play as best as I am able, but karma will have its effect. Only by stepping beyond the play does one truly not be affected by karma. The truth is, at physical level and soul level, there is very little the individual can do regarding the life. Rather, must allow the flow of love through, and that love will take the action that it will take. So when you come to the higher lives in terms of the soul life, you'll see that there was so little that you had influence upon. It was determined by previous actions. But as you get more control over where you focus, the actions can take place, the life can be lived, and one sees that one is shining the light of consciousness upon each of these things. And consciousness is being driven by karma where it looks. Gain control of it, and it will be able to look at love more than it would look at disaster. So first understand that life is coming out of the individual. Not into the individual, out of the individual. And know it is karma that is directing it. Gain control of where your consciousness focuses. And of course, this is the beginning of moving the chair back from the drama of life. And keep moving it backwards. and don't be caught in it in life. If one does the exercise of being the passenger and watching the scenery pass by and trying to decide, am I still and the scenery moving? Get a sensation of that. And if you can truly get that sensation, then you are beginning or in the process of separation. There are stories I could tell to give an example of this. So I think that should suffice in the answer and would lead us to about time. So next week will be the same again. Brief talk and questions that you may wish to ask. Until then, God bless you all.